welcome back to Metropole Grid. There's usually a Metropole Grid splash there. There isn't, so that's kind of a hard cut in. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Welcome to our first online GNK. This is April 2023. We're playing in Startup. We have 30 players joining today. And speaking of joining today, I'm joined by two lovely people that we're sharing the microphone with. Round one is just about to start, but of course, I'm joined by both Jenny, Asphyxia, and Marbles. Jenny, how's it going? Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I've played a lot of this game on random lobbies, so it'd be exciting to see what everybody brings today.
I'm super excited to see some, I'm not going to say exactly competitive startup because I think a big part of this event just is to have organized play. We'll see, you know, some top table stuff, but we're going to see a lot of people figuring it out. And of course, also Marbles, how's it going? Welcome to the channel.
So excited to be here. I've been playing Netrunner for about 10 years, a big fan of your work. I think this is going to be a fantastic event today.
That's very kind. Yeah, I'm excited, and we're just about to jump in. So just for those watching at home, I am TOing this event at the same time. Huge shout outs to my partner, Corey, right now in the other room on Discord. Has been doing all the pairings and stuff like that. So it's very likely that I'm gonna have to pop off away. And again, you're in great hands with Asphyxia and Marbles here. But in terms of the event itself, our round one pairings are just about to start. We're gonna get the go ahead in just a moment to start round one. But looking at the standings, do y'all see them on Cobra? In terms of what things look like?
Yeah, I'm seeing 11 Padmas.
Yeah, it's Shaper's almost entirely Padma, which is absolutely hilarious. And then we got Essa behind that, which I thought actually would see a lot more loot today on terms of the runner side, but you're seeing every single faction, which is great. And they're kind of distributed relatively evenly in terms of actually raw counts as much as the ID counts are kind of a bit all over. Otherwise, corp side? A lot of PD, not surprised. Restoring Humanity showing up with Thule, but again, you're seeing just about everything, and you're seeing that Wayland love more built to last than of course building a better world. But I'm excited, and one brave player on Ampere, nobody wanting to play Nova, which to me I find is the easier one. But we'll see how that goes in just a minute. It's
shout out to them, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I've never been brave enough to play Ampere or Nova in Startup, where you have even a smaller card pool. So I'm excited to see what you can cobble together. It's also like totally worth knowing that in this event, there's about 31 players, and I think almost a third, it's a bit less than a third of these players, this is their first time participating in organized play. So shout outs to getting involved again, taking the time to meet some people online and get some organized play games. And again, I think organized play Netrunner is kind of the most exciting thing, especially meeting new people, let alone seeing how they take the game and their angle on this sort of thing. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I love to see so many new people getting into the game, and I see them in lobbies and stuff as well when I play, and just like the vibe is very, very strong. Basically, everyone's like excited to try new things, and I'm excited to see what sort of decks we have today.
Speaking of that,
yeah, I think.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Marbles.
I was going to say, I think this kind of competitive Netrunner, I know you said it isn't a particularly competitive tournament, but when people are playing at their absolute best and really thinking about every move, that's when you see Netrunner at its best.
Yes, and I have no doubt we're going to see a fair bit of that today. Speaking of that, I think we should dive into round one. We're a bit behind schedule already. Is there a certain table we want to get into? Do you want to make the call, both of y'all?
I'm just looking at the pairing.
Yeah.
Who is what?
Let's see if I recognize any of these names. Hedonism Bot. I'd love to see them play.
Sure. That's table 12, Shao versus Hedonism Bot. You want to jump into there? So we'll be there in a second. I think all players today said they're totally okay being on stream. So again, we'll be jumping in just a second. So, oh, they're off already. Uh-oh, okay. So hold on. I just need to say that round one can begin, but it looks like they've already started. Best of luck. Have fun. And we're off. Okay, welcome to the top. This is our first GNK. We are now... We should be started.
I'm just finding the game.
Cool. Yeah, it's table 12.
I knew it was Hedonism Bot on Ampere. I knew it.
Please, Maddie. Sorry, we have our timer starting in the background. It should be 65 minutes. Our timer started just about now, so that will be going on in the background. But welcome to it again. This is Thule Subsea, the newest HB identity. You want to take some core damage, otherwise you're going to spend a click and 2 credits. And I think this matchup is always the most interesting with Essa taking their own core damage. There's their own core damage versus Thule, who wants to deliver the core damage. So it can be an interesting matchup, but both players are kind of helping each other at kind of every turn.
I think the most core damage I've seen is about 12 at the end of a game.
Whoa.
It's amazing. How are they getting the extra hand size?
Mechanikites, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, Hippocamping is that card that I know on stream I've talked about not being the most excited about, but like this is the sort of matchup, there you go, in which you
There
can
it is,
actually
there it is.
afford to take so much core damage, let alone the meat damage from the Hippocampic did trash the Marrow. Usually a 3 of in these lists, but with those two together, I don't know if we're going to see a way to charge the Hippocampic. Essa can get up to a massive hand size. We're already at 7.
I'd be curious to see what what they do bring to charge it, whether it's Daeg or maybe like Flux Capacitor, or whether it just stays at 2.
Did y'all see
Maybe Mara is good enough.
Netrunner DB yesterday?
Oh, Daeg everywhere. Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
Every card is Daeg, so there's a big chance that Daeg might sneak into this.
I
But
thought it had something to do with your April Fool's joke, by the way.
oh no, I had no idea. I logged in. I had an event on Saturday. I was trying to build decks like early in the morning, and it was an absolute nightmare, but I found it really, really quite funny. So we're cracking that Fermenter. Mind you, in this matchup, core damage is going to be very important, but it's worth noting that Thule Subsea not often is trying to end the runner with core damage. A lot more likely is the core damage is going to be impactful with cards like Ontological Dependence. Currently, there's no core damage on the table, but that 4-2 agenda will go down all the way to like a 0-2 agenda, and that's actually the most important consideration, taking core damage in this matchup.
I think that's actually where Hippocampic shines. Like in this kind of matchup where you want to minimize the amount of core damage that you're taking, it's a great replacement for Marrow.
Oh, that's true. That's super true. Yeah. Raindrops. We're sending it in. No iced res so far. We're expecting harmonics generally. Again, the ice pool is pretty small comparatively between standard and startup, of course. So you're going to see, you're going to be able to predict a bit more what you're running into. And we'll see runners use that to their advantage. That's a Nim. What sentries you're worried about? I think there's one big one in the format, huh?
Ansel and Bloop. And do we think that might be a bloop then on R&D, that it wasn't rezzed?
I think there's a chance. I also do think there's a big chance that raindrops, like the value runs on central servers, you just don't res because it kind of works out worse for you. But Biotic out, we're going to get a 3-2 on the table. Let's see a Luminal, but a Vitruvius will do as well. Zhao getting the first points on the table, 2-0. But Hedonism gonna have some good pressure now. Let's see if they if he ends up taking any amount of core damage.
This is why you need to challenge that Regolith, because if this Biotic Leap is in hand, it's just freaking like fast advance and install Ska, basically. It's the Regolith is so scary out of the league.
It doesn't specifically have a lot of money, so kind of challenging any of the money they have is pretty important. But yeah, we'll see raindrops now hitting into Echo. That's our first harmonic. This is going to have 1 end the run on it. It's, mind you, behind that harmonic tag there on Jaina, but that should be a 1. So this will scale up in terms of the end the run subroutines. Maybe if Essa is playing a cleaver, that might not be too big of a deal, but now that R&D ice easily can beat the bloop, which requires you to de-res another harmonic before you can res it itself. So now we'll see if we're ever going to spend 6 credits to break a single copy of the bloop. Regolith cleared.
I have to ask.
Go ahead.
This realistic mode, what is this?
I don't want to hit the button. I know it's an April Fool's thing, but like I don't think we can bravely check that on stream right now because I have no idea how bad it's going to be.
I checked it. It should be safe. It should be safe.
Oh, that's sick. Okay, I'm in. I like that. I think there's a way to flip the table. Yeah, there's a flip the table view. Are any of you brave enough to figure out what that one is?
Oh no.
This is really funny. I'm going to turn it off.
We are getting entirely distracted here.
That's a Matryoshka. So this is really cool. We've seen a lot of lists that are in ESA lists that are on like 3 Mayfly or 6 Matryoshka. And that list struggles inherently with this kind of like meta concern of if you're playing against Op, they can do the sort of Stavka 7 strength into half run combo, which requires most decks to actually have 2 ways to big high strength sentries. So I'm pretty sure Hedonism might be on 6 nesting dolls and then a single copy of Noom, which like that's a really cool way to deal with that problem.
Well, Noom is infection. I play a lot of Crim, and so I'm usually bringing a revolver if I'm, knowing I'm going to face up against Op. So
I like revolver a lot in this format. We have Spin Doctor munching the remote server, something on top of it. So we're assuming that's probably a Jupstead grid, maybe a Managar, maybe a Hendrik. I think there's a bunch of upgrades you'd expect in any HB, let alone Thule. And if you can't contest the Jupstead, that could be another core damage, or at least our first core damage if we get like an Elevagao out on top of it.
I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna hard call it. It's gonna be a Managar.
Okay. We'll see if it comes in soon. We're getting pressure on R&D. That's a jailbreak. So now Zhao has the option to res just about any ice, and there you go. It's the bloop as was called before. Is there?
It was.
Sorry?
It was called, yeah, definitely.
This is new to me. Are you seeing all the subtypes that are showing up on the ice now?
I am.
Yeah, it's because of the April Fool's thing.
Oh, it is April Fool's.
I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen this before, but we actually can't see the ice itself. This is a bit not the best, but we're going through that for 6 credits with Noom. Mind you, it's a high strength. And we're going to hit our first agenda. That's a Vitruvius. Here, you can take your first core damage if you don't want to spend a click and 2 credits.
I think they probably will. There's 6 credits. So.
And now they're forced to take a call.
Here's where it becomes a problem.
Losing a first light the fire. That's your first core damage. Mind you, hand size still at 6 hand size. We're going to discard a whole bunch of cards here, but this is okay, right? A single core damage is not the worst, considering the ontologicals are still only 3/2 agendas, but every now core damage after that, that's where you start to get to that unfair territory. The 2/2 agendas, the 1/2, and so forth.
Running against delay is so scary.
Yeah, I think like
I'm surprised they were brave enough to run the jailbreak.
I think that's the best case when you're playing Essa. Like you're allowed to be as aggressive as you want, because if you accidentally take core damage, you can convince yourself it was part of your plan anyways, and usually totally. It is. But
yeah,
absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
I think what's interesting. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's interesting here is that this is, as we know now, a biotic deck, so they might purely be on 2/3s at this point with ontologicals.
So I posted a deck dive earlier this week, which is a triple biotic. So far, we're card for the list. Not that that's a big thing to hit, considering the size of a startup card pool. But if that's the sort of deck this is, yeah, this deck just wants to have all the 3/2s they can play, including now ontologicals count, and just biotic out everything. And that's expensive, but it's doable. Another card in.
I kind of like that approach. If you're learning how to play a game, like picking up what other people are doing, trying to minimize misplays, things like that.
Yeah.
Great way to get into it.
Hey, it's a Jubstad. We're scoring out an ontological. That's our second core damage. Mind you, Essa hasn't sabotaged at all, right? Like there's been no sabotage so far besides that first core damage. Now this will be the second sabotage, mind you.
Well, they're in a position now where they can... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
They're in a position now where they can run any of these centrals. They can get Time Bomb down. They can Chestushka for sabotage. They can even do a finality if they want to. Like they're in a position to do a lot of sabotage if they want to.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. This is a relatively big turning point. We're going to see if the Jupe set gets respected, but we're running now with a Dirty Laundry into what is an Echo. This is going to have a single end the run on it, so Matryoshka goes through for only a credit. Not too bad, but that's going to limit how much other ice you have to get through. Mind you, Matryoshka requires you to flip the hosted nested dolls, so that's only 1 ice per turn based off this. But we're going to check what Archives is. I'm assuming Nightmare Archives are one of the fastest things to get sabotaged, and seeing how Essa interacts with those. Wow, the 1 3-pointer potentially in the list is probably what came off the top of R&D.
No.
That feels so bad. So we'll see
here. It's
here.
a one-off though, isn't it?
I think it's the one of, yeah. If it's the sort of list that I posted, this is a one of. You do get a free bloop on the region, on the remote server, but S is also the one runner who's less likely to want to take the negative points from the Nightmare Archives. So this can be hard, because now any single sabotage, you're on the edge of your seat. This can very easily be the game now, basically any turn. This is not a good spot to be in for Thule for sure, but I think they can definitely get out of this, especially now with 2 core damage and the Jupe stats still sticking.
Yeah, the Jubstad is very strong for, being able to put core damage on the runner pretty reliably, but it is so expensive, especially in delay. They're down to 4 credits right now.
That's the finality.
This could be it. Dead to Snare. You have to watch out for that. That is a reality. But we got 2 cards trashed off the top of R&D. 4 credits is just enough. So there's 2 unknowns in Archives. Finality is going to see 4. So this could be on either side. That's our first Nightmare Archive. Here you could actually afford to take -1 points. It only puts you off of the next Elevagao. But you still, there it was. No.
There it is.
Wow.
Oh, you hate to see it, but I get that. That can happen. That's the punish for that. We'll see if we take another core damage here. We could be on 4. Oh, that was close. There's still 2 unknowns in Archives, but unfortunately, Matryoshka can't check it just this turn.
Oh my goodness. That gave me a heart attack.
Yeah, that's wild. That's the calculation. There's 2 more Alivagaos. Otherwise, like, you can take the Nightmare, no problem. But you don't love taking core damage on a turn you've already ESA core damage because your Sabotage is only first time. But
of course.
3 hand size, throwing down a Ghost Tongue Zhao here. R&D locked. HQ probably is pretty ripe considering they sabotaged 2 from the top of R&D. So I reckon what's in HQ is actually probably worth keeping. So we'll see how that matters on this turn.
Yeah, it's hard to play from this position. I'd be very tempted to just try and play as slowly as possible, click for credits, and hope you draw like an operation, because they did access a few extra cards and they weren't scores, so it's going to be ice, it's going to be operations, things like that. So hopefully it's what they need, but ASA will know exactly what it is. It's not a Spin Doctor, which is what they probably want.
Yeah. Did Hedonism have
Yeah.
2 credits to trash Spin Doctor on that dive there?
That is a good question.
I'm not sure they did.
I don't think they did.
Oh, you think they did? Okay.
I don't think they did.
Oh, excuse
No.
me. Yeah. So that is one of the ways out of it, but it's really difficult too. Even like to score on top of the Droop stat, you might choose not to. Oh, there it is. There is a Spin Doctor. So this is a really interesting card too, because it's one of the most important defenses you have against Sabotage. And we're at the clearly on very much game point that any single Sabotage can be the end of the game. So a lot of times you actually need to protect your Spin Doctor. We saw one light the fire, hit the heap from some sort of damage earlier in the game, and that's one of the cool ways you can contest Spin Doctor in pretty indirect ways. But there's a chance that Zhao, unless they want the scoring remote, needs to protect that Spin Doctor for the next couple turns.
I think I would have put it in the scoring remote. I think if your plan is to fast advance stuff out, you can do that outside of the scoring remote and keep that Spin Doctor safe.
Yeah.
You're going to need it.
I think there's a chance. Maybe they have a good enough server and they see that, the Noom isn't getting there so much because of credits. And maybe one Matryoshka is one too few. Then maybe you have a push here. But yeah, otherwise, if you're going fast events, I agree. You might be able to just keep that safe in the remote server and go from there.
I think Sprint is also like something to consider as well to help against Flood. Like that is exactly the operation you want to see in this position. Outside of a Spin Doctor, of course. Obviously, the Spin Doctor helps more with Sabotage, but if you are flooded, then there are other options.
I think too.
One of the things
no, go ahead.
One of the things I love that thank you. One of the things that I love that NSD has done is they've brought in so many cards. They brought in a card now, I think, for every faction, which can break R&D lock in the same way that Spin Doctor does. You've got Sprint in HB, you've got Simulation Reset in Kentucky. I realize now they've not done one for every faction. I don't think there's a Wayland equivalent yet.
The best you got is pseudo op, but that doesn't work. It just shuffles. But yeah, sort of.
I mean, yeah, Ob does. You can shuffle every time with Ob. It's so hard to get Ob in an R&D lock.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say
I feel
too.
like that was a good.
Whoa. Huh? Okay, we're on game point. They had an ontological in hand and they were just holding it and decided to score it, not inside the Droop set, to not sabotage. I think that was the big decision point here, and then put something into server 2. So this is a huge fork here. Hedonism on only 3 credits with the no free lunch they have access to, something in server 2, a Spin Doctor on the table that you have to contest with enough credits before you can consider sabotaging. But Zhao here has 1 ontological they can win off the top deck and 1 Elevagao they can win off the top deck.
This is so exciting.
Server 2 not contested, just big money. Regolith. That's going to be 9 credits, 7 after you pay for the cost. But now Zhao, I think R&D, the top of it, is probably entirely fresh here. So Hedonism can just throw out a single finality. You can tank the bloop on the last turn. It doesn't do anything. In fact, it forces sabotage, which might be a detriment to Zhao here as much as there's a Spin Doctor on the table.
Wow. Okay. She face down here.
Yeah, this is tricky whether you can test archives or you can test the Spin Doctor. Spin Doctor will probably get popped if you run it here. So here you get, there's, I think, a bigger probability you might hit a Nightmares, but it's definitely one way to deal with the archives issue, and you have to deal with that sooner. I think the worst case here, though, is that Spin Doctor doesn't get popped, and it's just like 2 ice and archives, because then you still have to run the Spin Doctor.
Oh, no.
Bit of a misclick.
Isn't bot there saying he's misclicked.
I can't tell how many subroutines are in the Echo. This is really frustrating. I think it's 1. Maybe it's 2. Yeah, because of the blue res. I think it's 2. So Spin Doctor does get shuffled.
It is 2.
Wow.
It is 2.
there was an agenda in there, it looks like. So if that Spin Doctor didn't come down off of that R&D dig, or maybe it was just an HQ, that would be it. But we're going to see a Nightmare Archives here. That's going to be your 5th core damage if you want.
It's a good time to core damage because they have to put those agendas or any other cards straight into archives, and you will see it right away.
Yeah, that's the candidacy rule that was updated, I think, last year, where if they enter the pool of cards you can't access, you have to access them. So that's a hedge fund and a hedge fund from archives. Wait, what is this? I don't know what's going on JNet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. So when you sabotage, the extra cards get accessed at the end of the the archives access as individual lines in the log, which is weird.
Yeah, because we see 3 hedge funds, right?
That's 3 hedge funds, right? Yeah.
But the cards aren't flipped, right?
That's weird. Like they aren't.
So we're assuming those last 2 cards might be the 3rd hedge fund and a wave, right? I think that's the assumption.
Mm. Yeah, it must be a bug.
Okay. So that means
I did like that that hedonism during the run, they got the credit total mixed up, but just communicated it and just was like, oh, we're just going to adjust the extra credit that I was supposed to pay for this to subroutine wave.
Yeah.
Echo, sorry.
No, that's
like just being chatty and just being like, hey, I'm not going to just touch the board state without saying anything,
That's super important. I hope some players are in the voice comms. I didn't actually mention this. Apologies in the event, but there is the voice comms lobby on the null. The null signal organized play tab. So if you're on table 2, you can get into the table 2 audio chat to potentially talk to your opponent in table 2, which is a really nice way again to just meet people and have a laugh while playing Netrunner.
I have done that a few times myself.
Credit. So Zhao has some top decks here. We have Biotic Money. That might just be the Elephant Guy.
That's it.
Oh, they did it. Good game to both players. 6 to 7, 5 core damage in, 2 ontologicals in the score area. I think that's exactly what Thule wants to do. But at one point that looked pretty rough for the Corp, and they definitely clawed back with a well-timed Spin Doctor. Good game to both players. That's a really nice way to start this event.
Very composed play.
Cool. Yeah, Thule is really well represented at this tournament. I know I posted a deck dive, and I think a lot of folks here probably are familiar with the channel, considering we got here. So I wonder how many people are just playing that list. I think that list can probably be optimized. I don't know if it would be my first choice to this event, but so far we're seeing it do some sort of results. So, hey, count me excited, especially against ESO. That's the hard one. Oh, hedonism.
I'm sure we definitely will see people like putting in their own inclusions and stuff around it as well. I'm sure.
Yes, I hope so too.
We're going to be surprised.
You want to get your own stink on that for sure. So we're back on table 12. It opens. Zhao says, wow, Ampere. Hedonism seems to be the one Ampere player. So we're going to see a deck of unique cards, only 2 different agendas from each Corp faction. That means that legally you have to play neutral agendas in startup. There's just such a limited pool, right?
I think it's a really gutsy move to play this ID in a tournament. I'm really pleased to see it.
I'm so stoked we found this round 1. Yeah, so Ampere came out alongside Nova in Parhelion. So your deck can have more than 1 copy of any card. That's very difficult for a format with a small card pool. But again, 2 different agenda cards from each Corp faction. Every faction in startup only has 2-point agendas. So if you do 8 of those, you only hit 16, which means you have to play neutrals. So you're probably playing like 1 send a message, and you're almost definitely playing at least 1 off-world office. So it's going to be actually kind of a puzzle to figure out what is in this deck.
Hedonism has been playing Ampere quite a bit in the last few months. Like I remember matching up with them in GLC, the weekly tournament, cool. And we had a big laugh. About it. It was really fun. So curious to see what they've brought in.
It's like, so as much as I've never been a fan of competitive Ampere, one of the big things that gets undersold when talking about Ampere is that it's really hard to play around anything intelligently, because you have to play around everything intelligently, right? Like, what is a face down card in server 1? The range is from traps to regolith to like a Maryland campaign to an agenda. Like, it can literally be anything, as opposed to most corps where you have an idea. Oh, the card in the remote server in an HB matchup is likely 1 of 3 things. This is likely 1 of 12 things. And even then, I don't even know if we can ever use the word likely.
even once you start seeing cards, you can be like, oh, I think this is going to be a tag matchup. And actually, no, you've just happened to see the 2 or 3 tag cards that are in this deck. The rest of the game is going to be completely different. There's the boat, the first boat of this tournament that we've seen.
Cannot feel happy about this coming down so early with the rigging up, but Padma is the most well-represented runner on our side. We're going to see a lot of endurance today, but of course you are in the startup event. So we'll see how important this is. Hopefully Hedonism has other ways to tax out the runner than just ice into the depths as well. We're going to get a program. Let's see if it's just like a conduit turn one. We're going as aggressive as possible. Maybe we'll see a breaker here. It's a breaker. Right, like, how do you know which breaker you need turn one against Ampere, right? Like, good luck. I guess we have a cleaver now. I don't know. Maybe?
Well, I mean, how do you know it against any? I guess you could make some guesses like barrier against Wayland or something.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But, like, you're always wrong. Whenever you make a call like this, you're always wrong.
Yeah, we'll see if this one matters. Again, with an endurance with 6 counters, you might not actually use this cleaver for a minute. But again, if Hedom is, okay, this is cool. This is a way to deal with endurance as much as free counters. No idea what's going on. And I think we're all going to find out together.
I love this.
This is how you open against endurance. I'm really into this. And maybe this is the ID that can play the most assets that makes sense. As much as NEH or near Earth Hub, mind you, can be a thing.
All right. There's definitely going to be a Gaslight, I think.
That'd be cool. Yeah. The one of Spin Doctor is always the most important thing to find at some point in the game.
Oh my god, one of.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize.
It's real rough out there sometimes. That one of Spin Doctor seems like the most important card in so many matchups, especially if you're playing against like core damage. Imagine that, Essa.
Every now and then I've deck tested again, like with a deck that I've forgotten to put Spin Doctors in, and it is a nightmare.
Yeah, you feel it.
You really do.
Mesnachesso, that's a big res. Unfortunately, no on-encounter ability, so that's just going to be 2 boat counters traded, but you have to get those boat counters out. But now Hedonism is only on 2 credits, so there's way less threats, let alone a Biotic Labor in hand is usually a 7 credit play.
This is one of my favorite pieces of ice to play against boat, because you do get that on-encounter effect. -3 credits if you can get the counter on there.
NB and Ice in startup is just very, very good. They all tax in ways that don't conventionally. Whoa.
Oh.
Those are big agendas. I think this might be the one of Seamless on the table. There's an agenda, but with 2 credits, I don't think there's a real threat here.
Nisei is my favorite agenda that I never play.
This used to be such a big card back in like 2014.
Definitely.
It used to be a huge card and nobody plays it anymore. I do think like GNK ice-based decks, I do think Restoring Humanity is largely doing something different in startup, and we'll definitely see some of that today. But yeah, it's just one of the most powerful abilities that sees no play in modern standard, let alone startup. Gamble Zhao just ripping through such a high value deck, mind you. We didn't talk about Padma, but Padma has a good reason to run R&D every turn. If that ice isn't res, that's 2 free boat counters. And I think we're going to see rigging up. Okay, we got all the breakers. It's just a matter of time too before we see that dreaded turbine. And then we're getting through that mess in Chesto for only a single credit. Hedonism on 4 can definitely do something on the table.
Like, the econ is good and the breaker suite is good, but you know, what I see scared of right now, I'm scared of all of these being like traps. Like, I guess it can be like 3 Reapers, right? Like, it needs to be one of. So
yeah.
Can you convince yourself that you don't have to check any of these? Like, I don't feel like you do.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's hard.
I think with the corp on 0 points, you can just take your time and say, hey, like, if you've got an agenda out there, go and score it. Take yourself down to 2 credits. I don't mind.
And we're just all going to have, like, egg on our face once Hedonism does some wild, exactly, like, Reaper function combo, and suddenly the game is entirely different. But, like, what's the chance they have it? It's so hard to play into Ampere. Unseen from R&D, this looks like a thinker. We have massive economy. Telework is going to trash a bladder word. So an econ card, let alone technically a trick, and that's a bad campaign. A credit a turn in Server 6. I think Zhao probably wants to take this down, considering Hedonism has been clicking for a lot of credits so far this game.
The play I'd be excited to see here is Gaslight for Retribution, double click on Drago, give them a tag, and kill boat.
I think you're right. I think that'd be pretty good. Yeah, Drago could be on the table. That's one of the big changes, mind you. If you've been maybe playing standard, there's no ban list in startups. So things like Drago, obviously we see the endurance there. Those are alive and well. And Drago with single tag threat, if there's no free lunch on the table, Zhao might have to worry about that. As much as 2 breakers on the table. 3 breakers are on the table.
I think this matchup is not going to be about ice.
From this point on, yeah, I at least with like 7 cards on the table, I think Hedonism's okay with that idea. But that's a luminal off the top. If this is just full fast events, again, on the table, we could expect things like Sansan City Grid, what's it called? Vladisibirsk City Grid. I think those are options. I think maybe we'd be just running all the 2-pointers if that's the case. I don't know. Maybe there's a send a message, but in theory, Zhao could be on game point here.
If it was a Vladisibirsk, I would expect it to be behind a trap of some kind, like an ambush.
Oh, right, the stack where you protect it.
Yeah.
That's our Singleton Spin Doctor. In terms of the recursion, only a Bladderwort in archives. But on its own, just some good card draw and something Zhao might need to respect. Server 9, sorry we're zoomed out this far. There's no way around it. If you want me to make the cards crooked, I can do it too. It's such a funny joke. I really do like that.
Yeah. Trying to do this on a table, like in physical card games, is ridiculous. Whenever I play NEH, I always end up having to go like, okay, I'm just gonna go into the other person besides me. Like their play mat is now apparently my space as well. So I'm just gonna
deep space.
Keep going. Yeah.
We're charging the spin. We're going to crack that. So it looks like 1 face down and the Bladderwort. So in terms of recursion cards, we're expecting in the format, maybe there's a, oh man, Bird Barbecue. I don't know the name of the card still.
Simulation Reset.
Thank you. There might be one of those, but I don't know how
So
much
I
else
now
we're
call
going
it
to see.
Bird Barbecue, thanks to you.
I appreciate it. Top of R&D?
Bad barbecue.
Endurance is on 12 counters. We haven't seen it used for a bit, but once the turbine comes down again, we're just breaking that message just for credit as much as Endurance can do it for free. Wonder if this is going to be like a mutually assured destruction at some point, but even then, like how do you close the game with a single end of the line in your deck? Daily Business Show, Server 9, that's a really important card to deal with. This is one of the best cards for a deck that's super inconsistent inherently.
This card has been plaguing me for 10 years.
It's still there. It's still as good as the day it came out. And what influence? This thing is so under respected by a lot of players, and it's just like the most important thing in some of these matchups. We're gonna get an agenda. Biotic Labor, Subliminal. What are we scoring? There's something on the table, let alone a 4-2 off-world office. Hedonism has 8 credits. There are agendas on the table. I bet you there's one more at least in that field, and I wonder if Zhao is going to turn that corner and start checking.
I'm like speechless. It's.
I'm into this. I'm really into this. I'm excited to see what this looks like. We saw no Nova in this event, but 1 Ampere. So Hedonism definitely has a game plan. Breaker Suite powered up Mach 2 speed. We're breaking again that message chest for 1 credit. With that DBS, there might not be agendas in hand, maybe 1, but we did filter with Spin Doctor. That DBS has been up for a turn. Blood in the Water, though, that's game point 6-2. Wow, that's a surprising card.
Yeah.
It suggests they do have some net damage hanging around here somewhere.
Hey, speak of it, Hostile Architecture, that's server 1. So if you want to take this DBS down, you're taking 2 damage alongside it. That's 2 meat damage. First time a turn, something gets trashed. So no matter what, at this point, you're getting 2 meat damage. If you're going to trash anything for the rest of the game, you could just come back and do the Hostile, but it doesn't really change much. But DBS is going to stand. Hedonism on 6 credits now with Marilyn and Pad. Not too bad.
I feel so hard when I see Hostile Architecture. Like, I know it is only 2 meat to trash. You know, usually it's behind ice and stuff like that. But, you know, I just see it and I'm just like, ugh, it's like such a brick. It's 4 credits. It's a run. It's 2 meat damage.
It's asking for a lot. Yeah, I do think you need other stuff alongside it. But hey, Hostile Takeover, maybe now it's going to be a bit easier to trash all of these assets. That's a bad publicity. But Hedonism now on 3. I wonder if we're going to see something cool like a Blood in the Water on the table, other ways to like fast advance potentially, as much as those are a bit inconsistent. But I do think Hedonism probably has a fair few more tricks than we've seen. Dirty Laundry into R&D. Again, Padma's getting value on this, let alone the successful run and charges endurance. Top card, not known. And that's, again, the beauty of Daily Business Show is that Hedonism doesn't necessarily have to draw that top card. So if you're only seeing singles, you don't actually get R&D locked.
I can't believe this endurance has 14 counters on it.
We've used it once and like there's no other way to use it on the table really. But yeah, you're solved. You don't need all these breakers. You're good. Throwing out 2 Hush, 1 more endurance, so probably a 3rd endurance somewhere if a retribution does land. And Maryland also getting shuffled back here, so the top card of the deck was going to be unknown anyways. Daily Business Show seeing 2, keeping 1. Kalana's asking, is there any way to prevent damage in startup? I don't think there's damage prevention. There's just like ways to draw at instant speed, right?
Yeah, there's stone chip chart rooms to draw instant speed. Buffer drive's not in startup anymore.
No, it rotated because that was an Ashes thing, right?
And it wasn't terribly good before it rotated.
Amen.
I want to see the hot new Plastic Carapace.
Yeah.
I love that card.
At some point, we'll get
I know it's
another
doggy.
fridge to hide in.
Yeah.
That's a Hanse review. That's good money. Hedonism was on like 3-4 credits a couple turns ago. We're all the way up on 19. So like if there's Sansan City grades on 2 to 4 to 5, those are going to get rezzed. And Zhao is not contesting. I think Zhao is respecting the hostile. We'll see if he can take damage here. Again, we're discarding cards just about every turn with that Nuka draw and clearing house off the top. So there are going to be cards that we just advance and leave on the table for sure. Going to discard 2 here. That's the 3rd endurance and the Nuka. I do think if you sink the ship, it's still not going to be a very reasonable line to close the game out. Considering that breaker suite is, a bit much.
Yeah, everything is going to be 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 credits to break. You can't.
I was wondering why that clearinghouse didn't cause them to do 2 meat damage, but it's only on installed cards with hostile architecture.
Oh yeah, that's a huge difference. That's totally true.
So like R&D swipes are still good.
So do you think this might be a fun house on R&D? They've just replaced the ice there, and that's the only ice I could see being relevant on this board today.
So I got to pop out for a judge call real quick. I'm going to leave the 2L here. I'm going to mute myself, but I'll be back in just a minute. Sorry that we're not going to have card overlays for the stream, but it is what it is. See y'all in a second.
See you in a minute.
Anemone.
I was wrong. It was not a fun house.
Yeah. I wonder what was there previously. Oh my goodness. Catching
any
up on
of
the
these
chat.
accesses could be the win.
Yeah. I wonder if the win is on the field. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, as Andre said.
I wouldn't be at all surprised either. I would guess there's a 4-2 out there that Hedonism's... Oh no, I tell a lie. They could have scored out a 4-2 at any time, so probably not.
Okay, we're going to check. Erika.
No.
So that's 2 net damage for accessing this ambush. Unfortunately, we can't bring it up on the stream right now, but usually you can advance it and it deals 1 net damage based on the advancements counters, but as it stands by itself, it's just the 2 net damage. And of course, they can't trash it because hostile architecture would flatline them, so...
And we've got a Reaper function res, and that is the game.
Oof.
This asset spam deck has taken out the boat. You love to see it.
Well done, Hedonism, but yeah,
Well done,
definitely.
Hedonism, but...
Wow, some spicy games.
Some really spicy games. Some really interesting and really well played games on both sides.
Yeah, Andre's just stepped out for a moment to deal with the judge call, but yeah, we'll get some more games in soon. Let's have a look at the pairings to see what game we want to see next.
Oh.
I'm sure it's based on like who's finishing up still, but it's always good to like jump around and see where people are mid game. Okay, let's have a look.
My big prediction today was... Sorry, you can.
Oh, I was going to say, there's just definitely some names I recognize in here. Who signed up for this?
Sorry, I'm back in. I think I just missed the end of that. What happened? There was a Reaper function?
There was a Attica Cypher into a Reaper function Yeah.
Okay. And I think the stream missed that. Excuse me. I think I logged out because I logged into another account real
Oh,
quickly. But so
no.
sorry about that to both players on stream. But there was a flatline there. I think you got the audio, the radio replay of it. Yeah, apologies. I'll get a bit better here. Do you want to jump into another table? I think we got much more time in the round.
Yeah.
Yeah. love to.
There's I'm seeing table Q.
What's table Q?
Someone's having a laugh. Someone's having a laugh. I assume it's table 9. Any 999 fans? It's Krim versus GNK, I assume PE. I haven't looked at the
Do you want to try it?
Cobra.
Table Q?
Yeah, it is table 9, table Q. Yeah, it is restoring humanity.
Okay, perfect. Let's jump into that. So just for those who obviously missed the end of the last game, can you explain again what happened there to get the flatline?
Marbles
Sure.
mentioned, yeah, the Attica Cypher hit and fired, and then as the turn flicked, the Reaper function got rest, and yeah.
Oh, so they just was the Urtica advanced, or they just hit it for 2?
Just hit it for 2.
Just hit for 2.
Ooh, yeah, they're just traps on the table. Dang, well done.
It's an
Nasty.
object lesson in not running last click.
Yeah, if you don't have, and people are not playing Stone Chip that much more. That's the sort of card that saves you. Again, results oriented thinking. But yeah, I do think that sort of like ping damage can catch up with you, which is great. All right, so we're in here again. This is still round 1. We're looking at Restoring Humanity, actually a pretty popular ID in this event. Again, if they're face down cards. In Archives, you're going to get a credit at the end of your turn, so you can largely be in control of that if you're playing cards like, Hansei Review, let alone just discarding at the end of your turn works relatively well. Otherwise, we have 4 cards in the bin. We have to watch out. That upgrade on Archives is probably the Nano Civic Grid, which is very legal in startup.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing to deal with. This is going to get res an enemy or trashing a card or hitting an Earthrise Hotel and a Carmen. Hitting breakers in Criminal is like kind of the big deal because criminals generally don't have a lot of recursion. This looks like it's a Zaya that has a deep dive as well. So not the Sable you might expect, but we're seeing 1 here on the top of R&D. We have a single core damage. So we're drawing a card with the Zenith. We're seeing 2, mind you, with the Waken Plan. And that's just a flat line to a snare.
Wow.
Actually saying with too few cards there, but the enemy will get you for sure. That's a GG from both players. So that was a 5 damage run if you're respecting an enemy into snare, and that did connect. Thought it was a half run. Oh, so I think they had an idea what this ice could have been.
It can happen. It can happen any run.
Yeah, it can happen.
That's 2 net damage wins from red cards that we've seen in a row.
Cool. I think we're going to be going on to another game real soon. Congrats to both players here. I don't know if that's going to be game 1 or game 2, but good games. Hope stream enjoyed. Yeah, that's a good way to tune in at the end to see that cheeky flatline. Well done. All right.
Like the chat missed a flatline a second ago, so we got to give them like fresh flatlines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll hunt down for more flatlines here. Okay, do you want to do maybe, let's jump into table 15. It's Artesia versus Giat. It's a Criminal versus NBN matchup.
Sounds good.
Why wouldn't it be snare? Exactly. All right, here we are. This is Near Earth Hub, 17 influence for an ability that gets free card draw if you're building remote servers. On the other side, we have Zaya. Criminal wants to get a lot of cards accessed. In terms of a breaker suite, we aren't seeing anything so far, but somehow we're seeing 2 endurances in the bin and a Mayfly. So it looks like 10 influence just sunk off the coast. And if you're looking at archives, I can think I have an idea why if we piece this mystery together. That's 3 retribution in a row in archives. I wonder if multiple boats were sunk turn after turn. You just hope they don't have it.
All I can notice is the 7 tags, but of course it is Zaya. Is that how you pronounce that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm still not used to seeing just someone floating tags so well. It gives me a heart attack.
7 tags. We got a shipment from Vladisibirsk. That's the big deal. Mind you, this has text on it. It can go up to a 5-3. It can go all the way up to, in theory, a 7-point agenda. Now, if you're playing shipment from Vladisibirsk as tag punishment, not psychographics, you can't actually get that big Beal dream as much as you probably wanted the psychographics more than the shipment on this exact board state. So it's 5-6. There's an anvil on archives, and none of this ice actually ends the run. So while Artesia's on game point as well, He can just send it if he really wants to. We'll see if there is burst multi-axis, which I do think you see a lot of times jailbreaks in Zaya's just because it works so well.
It's so wild. I love in this very, very dangerous like tag punish meta that we're in. Someone's just like, I can take it. Let's go.
Full send. We're going to draw 2. Hit the Serevna. That's 2 net damage and a tag. Dies to snare. But safe here off that axis with the Chesva. Getting a credit back probably from Zaya. There you go. So that means we're probably not going to see burst multi-axis. But if a deep dive survives here, you can convert it. I don't think we're going to see a deep dive considering we've seen 10 boat influence. But Funhouse doesn't do anything once you're 10 tags in.
I don't think they can do a deep dive this turn either because they'd have to lose the credit from Anvil.
Oh, yeah.
And that would leave them.
I feel like I go to hit snare. Yeah, that's what happens when you're on stream. But there's a bunch of anvils in this list. That would be the second from HQ. We're going back. Just again, hoovering up all those tags.
Wouldn't info bounty give them the 2 credits back there?
That's a great point.
Oh, yeah, huge. Yeah, you're right. We're going back one more time. Again, it's a daily business show. I think we ended up trashing that with half of the coffee credits. And that's an office in hand there with 6 or 7 cards in hand after the trash there. And good game to both players. A very close game, I have no doubt. But Arteeza just saying, you know what? 10 tags in, you just got to get your accesses. And that is exactly right. 2 boats, again, sunk, but we're getting there. Just checking if there's a second shipment in hand, and there is in hand. So if that last run did not connect, you shipment for from Vladislavsk out that agenda. So that was the last click possible in the game, and a snare in HQ. What?
That's what I love about these tag matchups. You get to this point at the end where the runner just goes, hey, I don't care anymore. Tag me all you want. I'm going to run everything. And it's such an exciting part of Netrunner.
It definitely switches gears for sure.
That's buck wild. Cool. All right, we're just getting the ends of the actually really exciting games, which is fantastic. We have a couple tables still on. Is it all right if we jump into maybe table 1? That is a local for my meta against, I think, a player from France.
Absolutely.
All right, we're in on the top here. That's Sable. We're going to see how the influence is spent. I think Sable decks are always pretty exciting, whether they're just on 3 deep dive, just kind of cheesing it as hard as they can into central servers. But on the bottom side, Pravdivos Consulting gets the free advancement counters. So you're going to expect advanceable ice. Again, we see an ice wall there. You're going to expect Mesa Chespos. I don't know what other advanceable ice you're really expecting in startup. I guess people are playing Pharos, and it's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
Is Colossus in startup still?
Not anymore, no. That was, I think, an Ashes reprint, right?
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of much else.
There it is.
There's a few.
We came in the last minute. That is a deep dive there to see a bunch of agendas, including tomorrow's headline. We could have taken 4 points off the top there. But Commander Horoscope, that's the closest I'm going to get to that, is going to pull that off. 8 points. Good game to both players. Well done.
Deep dives are so exciting. It's such like the match finishes in this like very satisfying way because it's like, okay, we've built this prison now. Let's test every single server.
It's like the scariest thing too as a card because like you can't stop it from happening unlike most board states unless you're like developing in a way that they can't deal with. So yeah, that does connect sometimes, and it's just very exciting when it goes through, at least for maybe one player, maybe not both, but I'm into it for sure. All right, we're down. Actually, we have a couple minutes left in the round. I think we're gonna get a timer update. Again, reminder to both players, thanks so much, Maddie, that you have to fill in your results form if you're watching the stream and you've finished your games. Again, do fill out the results form. Both players have to fill it in, and then we'll get the update there. But let's jump into another table. One of y'all want to make a choice which way we can go? I think we have like 5 options here.
Table 5 looks pretty good to me.
Let's do it. All right. It's a Padma list. Of course it is. And we see there's a synth land in the bin. That didn't hit the table, but let's see some R&D pressure here. Conduit coming down, 3 blind sharks. She's throwing it into R&D here. We'll see if that built to last can fast advance themselves out of the corner, but it looks like we're not that many turns in here. So 14 turns actually. So only 2 points to each side is pretty surprising. There's probably a lot of agendas in central servers, maybe even just on the table, considering what things look like.
That's usually a sign of a good game of Netrunner, I would say. Bit of back and forth.
Definitely a bit back and forth has happened here. That is an enigma. That is no buzzsaw so far. So we're going to go through that with endurance. And this ice here, not res at all. Getting an axis here, and you have to deal with the conduit. You have to ice up R&D better than this in the near future. considering Padma gets so much value from running it and the conduit will just close games. Do you see Mavirus at all in startup? I don't think you see it at all.
You see it in
I think-
Ob.
Oh, yeah.
Ob, like,
100%. Yeah.
Right, of course.
I think that's the one ID you'd expected. I don't think you're going to see it so much in Built to Last.
I think there's like so many one influence cards that you're just like, oh yeah, this is probably more valuable than the like off chance that I have to deal with a virus.
Yeah.
And then everybody brings viruses.
Yeah, it's like purging botulism, purging fermenter. It's good. It's just like not as good as it might look on paper in most situations. So kind of falls to the side. We have multiple advanced cards on the table. I don't know what we're expecting. One of them just got trashed. Whether those are clearinghouses or reversed accounts, or even just like Urticas, maybe Checkists. There's like a pretty limited amount of advanceable traps, albeit they're all pretty potent in the format.
Checklist probably the one that I'm thinking the most about, especially with an endurance on the field.
Yeah, I get that trash. It'd be great.
and with an end of the line in the bin, that's just this is a deck that wants to tag you.
Oh, huge call. Yeah, that's really important to know. So that's going to definitely color this match for sure. We're hitting a Whoredom. Mind if I undo? I reckon you can. So again, Endurance gets through that. Once you find your Buzzsaw with only 11 cards in the stack, you're getting through all this ice for credit. Besides Message Chestful, that's actually like the good one. If you don't hush it, that is a reasonable piece of ice, even into this like late game Shaper Doom rig that you're expecting.
You say it's good, but they have like 20 credits. So
They do have
Yeah,
credits.
it's you know as good as it gets, but yeah,
it does something.
it definitely does something. Yeah. On that note too, like Anvil, actually kind of a cool ice that does something. You can endurance through Anvil relatively easily. In fact, it sinks itself at some point.
Yeah, you do have to trash a card off your board to activate Anvil Day, so it's scary.
Would you trash every
that how it
card you
works?
own to sink an endurance? Like I'm kind of at that point. Yeah, maybe. We're checking archives here. First click. Maybe server 4 is a spin doctor again. There's just so few agendas in the game that they might just be in archives, right? Like they have to be somewhere. There's 2 in here again. 4 is the spin doctor. So we're going to get that click to res and we'll see. I reckon these 2 get shuffled back in. I think that would make sense considering the agenda density. Yeah. So it looks like there's now just 2 more agendas in R&D and that's super important to do that first before Sharks tries to close the game out on R&D. Now we're swinging server 3.
All 3 spin doctors spent now, so.
Oh yeah, all 3 out. Yeah, that makes sense considering how few agendas we've seen. But you saw there that Sharks needed to go archives first for the successful run for Endurance so that she can deal with this double Codegate server. Server 1, let's see what it is. It's an advanced card. It's an Atlas. That's going to take Sharks up to 4. Going to need likely 2 more agendas. Let's see if Hostile Takeovers finds their way into this deck. But yeah, looking at archives, we don't really have much information about the Corp deck. On the runner side too, actually, a Buzzsaw was thrown out. So I don't think we're going to see recursion. It looks like Codegates might be a genuine way to tax this deck out. Like that remote server, I don't know how you get through it besides like installing another Endurance. And I reckon there's probably 2 more Endurances still left in the list.
I think some people do bring test runs still, just as like a little backup.
Yeah, that Shaper like kind of panic button.
Dig it out of the bin, basically. Oh.
Install?
I guess a lot.
Go ahead.
I guess a lot depends on whether they're just packing the one-off breakers. If not, they can double-click that nuker and probably find their other buzzsaw.
Yes, that's the thing is like, so a bunch of these published K2CB turbine, endurance Padma lists, some of them are in the camp of running 1 of each breakers and some of them are running the 2 of each breakers. It's kind of like a safety valve, how, scared are you to play around certain things. And I do think maybe there's the ones that have like Stone Chip Chart Room in them are actually playing fewer breakers. But yeah, there's a chance. It's hard to tell whether people are on 1 or 2. And it looks like a Canio here is going to be able to score out on that remote server. Let's see what they can get with a single advancement on it. It's also worth noting that Stone Chip does charge the Endurance, but to be able to do that, the Endurance already has to have a charge counter on it. Yeah. So this is the worst place to be.
That is exactly what I was about to ask, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that exactly how it works? Yeah.
So Endurance is weird because
charge is so interesting.
Yeah. It's like Endurance is the preeminent charge card, but for what it's worth, it actually isn't a charge card because it doesn't say charge because it can charge itself, pseudo charge, without a counter on it. But watch out because Stone Chip is a charge keyword card, so it requires something with a counter. Not scoring out, just advancing to 2. Again, if this is some sort of startup modernism list, there's some chance that this is like you're trying to build some sort of window, maybe with a clearinghouse into end of the line. I don't think we've seen any copies so far of no free lunch, but for that to work out, you still need a run and you still need a credit differential if you're trying to give a tag with public trail. Again, maybe this is like a Drago, who knows?
All right, here's my weird call.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Trick or Light.
Yeah.
In a deck of consortium, the build to last, how they're like putting one agenda points everywhere. Like, I think Trick or Light might fit.
I think, yeah, there's
That's
a chance.
a great card in this deck.
Like if 3 or 5 are just some trap, so you advance that as the battery and then you Trick or Light a 3/2 from there. But Canio still needs to do a lot of work. But yeah, I think that's a nice way to sneak past the boat. As much as Sharks, I think Sharks needs to get endurance counter every single turn if she can. Oh, there is another buzzsaw. There you go. Rigging up. Server 3 is now only, 5 credits in hull? So, that's some money as much as there's a lot of money on the runner side. And there is a second fermenter, I believe. I think we've seen our third fermenter, excuse me. We have 2 more in the bin.
Is Trick or Light rotated?
No, I think it's system update. So it's still legal in startup.
Yeah. Okay.
Canio now,
Thank you for the correction.
That's an intimidating board state. Double telework, endurance as much as it's empty, the whole breaker suite you're expecting, and then a fermenter even for that late game threat, conduit for R&D. So definitely on the back foot here.
I'm thinking to myself, surely one of these programs is 2MU instead of 1, but no, they're all 1. They're all 1.
Yeah. Endurance, mind you, just one of the best ways to get 2MU in the format, as well as, the ridiculous ability on it. But install advanced events, that's a hostile. It's definitely, the bad pub is going to matter as much as 20 credits is a lot. It does make that Hornum basically free. So kind of a change there, I reckon. And we're just going in. Again, you cannot charge the endurance with Padma because it needs a counter on it. So this charge is actually entirely wasted, but that's fine. It's going to happen. And Codegate Enigma for 1 with Buzzsaw. Let's see what's deeper down the server.
I think this is the right play. If you're worried about traps and things, just precious centrals. Yeah. It's fine.
And then you get to see what they're playing. Like you see a checklist, and then you can kind of decide what to do from there.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of,
oof,
snare off the top. It's going to do some damage. We're going to get an Oaktown renovation as well, but we're losing to 3. That's double pinhole and into the depths. A tag to worry about as well. But Sharks, she's going to peel that tag off. 4 cards in hand is relatively safe. Even with the stone chip, you're not going to die out of nowhere.
I love Oaktown. I love public agendas. I love that they get played and face up, and it's just, let's keep going.
Double advance? Whoa! Oof. Okay, so she didn't have a tag. So they just gave a tag. I thought this was going to be like an exciting 4-meat damage, but that's just kind of what's happening.
Left,
yeah. Oh, 1 click left. You're totally right.
So we could see end of the line here.
I think
but no concept in the stack.
End of the line.
Oh my god.
So that means that if there's a snare in R&D, you can't win off R&D. That means if server 5 is a clearinghouse, you can't win. So this R&D run has to not hit snare, and you can easily play like 3 snares in these sort of like startup modernism type decks. So this is exciting.
I'm panicking. Oh my god.
Conduit's going to see, what is it, 3 here? First off the top? Second? That's a clearinghouse down. So we know there could be a clearinghouse in server 5. If you don't check that and it's a clearinghouse, that's over. So we're going to go back. Again, we're seeing 2 more cards because of the conduit, let alone the card that was trashed. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my.
And they find the Aziev. Even if it was an Aziev in server 5, that's good game. That was actually quite close.
Very close. The deck has snares and they have 0 grip.
Yeah, there's no way to play around that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you die on the table, and then there's a lot of stuff that an R&D can get you. But I think it's mostly going to be about snare there. I wonder how many they're playing in their version. That's pretty wild. Well played to both players.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's like really intimidating once you're against this, you're going to see a lot of this today, right? Endurance, the K2P board state and all that sort of stuff. But like, even when that comes together, there's still ways to threaten it out and put runners in awkward situations. And it's not the first time we've seen this today. And it definitely won't be the last time we're going to see like endurance runners still on a back foot because of other angles of attack. And I think it's really important for startup corporations to like kind of swing into that, because you're definitely going to see a whole bunch of boat in the format, because it's obviously like a pretty good thing to do.
Yeah, like what else can you do around a meta that has this this bomb card?
Yeah.
I would say.
For sure.
You've just got to lean into those alternate win conditions.
Just give me 1 sec. I think we can pick a table to go into. I just want to see how much time we have left in the round, because we're going to have to call time, I think, relatively soon. 10 minutes, Maddie said. Okay, so we have 10 more minutes in the round. Thanks, Maddie. Do you want to pick a table here?
So we've got 3 games left running.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for it, Jay?
Goodness, the HB. We haven't seen any HB yet, have we?
Cool. No, we haven't. Let's do it.
Oh,
we saw
Thule
yeah,
HB.
yeah. That's technically, but you know, let's do it. Let's do it. Cool. So this is
okay. Not Thule.
This is PD, and it's worth mentioning Utadi is oracling for the King. So for those who are not familiar, the King is a Netrunner player from Canada who's visually impaired, so they can't really interact well with in-game cards, let alone JNet. So what Utadi does in this setup is they're going to be basically running Jinteki.net and explaining to the King the board state, what's happening. They can't make any decisions themselves. Again, the King is playing the game by all like sort of measures of the decision making. So this game will have a 5-minute extension. Generally, that's how it's done, just because inherently oracling is a bit less efficient than the conventional ways. But
communication.
Yeah, exactly. So this is always really exciting. Huge shout outs to Utadi, and the King is an absolutely phenomenal Netrunner player.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That's so cool.
So this is PD. PD used to be like the big deal when it came to startup. As soon as it came out, even in standard, it was like the most competitive thing. Things have kind of changed. I think some of the agenda suite rotating, the ice is still pretty good. You lost some stuff in the last rotation, but we haven't seen a lot of it. And with 5 points up, Crystal on Essa has done 3 core damage so far, hasn't found the marrow. With a spin doctor on the table, let's see how this game closes out.
This looks to me like a very traditional PD deck. I can see there's Anoetic Void and Malagam Skunkworks in the bin. That's been a little bit less popular this meta with the prevalence of pinhole threading, but like I think it's still very strong.
Yeah. I think I was notable that like the big unit posted a PD list a while ago for startup, and it had like shipment for Ladisabir skin in it. It looked a bit different, as much as, yeah, you're still seeing obviously Manigarm and Anoetic. This one's also running double Rototurret, which is not something you saw in the last meta. Spin Doctor shuffling.
It's just it's a sentry with an end the run. Like it's a lot better than people give it credit.
Yes. And I think that's a big difference, is like in the last meta, Begalter was everywhere. So it wasn't great to run a sentry that was broken for free. And now sentries are actually a difficult thing to deal with in the format efficiently. Like playing a 5 or 3 credit Carmen and then breaking it for 2 seems reasonable. If the face check hits as well, there's not as much recursion, but it looks like it's a finality. Sabotage 2 off the core damage. We're down to 1 hand size. So we'll see here after the Spin Doctor popped, shuffling, it seems 2 agendas. There's only 10 cards left in the deck. And we're going to go 1 from R&D, or 2 from HQ, excuse me, on the Sabotage.
Oof.
That's a big one. On cell 1, 6 to res 3, very meaningful subroutines on 4 strength. So Carmen is spending at least 6 credits. Unless you want to click through some part of this, and I reckon you could.
I would definitely be tempted.
I think I did the math wrong. I think it's 5 credits. Yeah, it's 5 credits, excuse me. We're paying 5. Roto for 2. Again, you can't let the subs fire. We're going to see 4 cards here. Can you steal 7 points on a single finality? I think in this late in the game, there's a lot of agendas in the deck. We'll start there with Illuminal. Into an off-roll, get us to send a message. No, send a message. We're technically on game point. As much as server 1 could be the final agenda. There could be a 3-2 or seamless launch into a 4-2 is pretty reasonable. We only see 1 seamless launch in archives. And again, precision design always brings us back. Crystal maybe only has 2 clicks left to figure this one out.
Wow. I mean, where would the other agendas be? We're seeing like 1 squad send a message.
Upgrade.
Would they be running 2 send a messages?
Sometimes they do, right? Like kind of like the Global Food Initiative type agenda suite. Maybe you play 1 and then you can play Eleva Gauss, which are also quite reasonable. Have you ever seen a Brawn get broken for 1 credit with Begamut?
I have not.
We're about to.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Goodness.
That's so cool. It's like as much as Begamut is meant to be the fractor for Essa, I don't even think you see it that much compared to Tremolo or Cleaver. Like they both, all 3 of them are very good in the slot. Second,
I
I
think
Why
think
are the
Dr.
cats so
Crystal-
powerful in the Netrunner universe? This is a cat. This is a cat, isn't it?
Begamot is the cat from what's it called? The something in the tequila. It's a famous Russian book. The master and
Okay.
the I forget the name, excuse me. Manigarm Rez though.
Interesting.
That's gonna end the run here. So
I think that's exactly what Dr. Crystal wanted here, though. I think they knew they couldn't get in there, but if they can stop the Corp scoring out next turn by costing them those 2 credits, then they're very happy.
yeah, that's actually probably 1 credit short to score out, right? Because we need a seamless advance. So that buys a turn. Thank you, Sauce says master in the margarita. I was saying something in the tequila, so that's funnier. But double seamless launch might just get there. That's it. Vitruvius in the remote server, even with a counter if you'd like it, but that is going to be a down to credit perfect. I think actually we had to click there. We could have clicked for a credit. So you had to get the king all the way down to, I think, 1 credit or 0 credits, honestly, to deny that. But very well played. I think that R&D run had a chance of just converting.
I think the play was really good. Like recognizing that, hey, maybe I have an out if I can get their credits low enough to be able to, prevent the scar out. But yeah, double seamless.
Yeah, double
and
seamless.
a 3-2. So
And there's a big chance, right? We tuned in late, but when you see precision design fire, sometimes as a runner, you have a pretty good idea that there are 2 or at least 1 seamless in hand. So that changes how aggressively the runner needs to play. Okay. Final
it's like
table.
an exciting game either way.
We have a table 2. We want to jump into it. I'm just going to check. Maddie, what's the time in the round? Okay, we got 4 minutes. So this is going to be our last couple minutes of the first round. And what a board state.
An admin. Let's go.
Double admin. So
wow.
For the real
Beautiful.
old heads of Netrunner, there was this archetype called Atman Sucker, in which you played Atmans at varying strengths, and then you used Leech, which classically was called Data Sucker, to be able to kind of coast through the issues. Speaking of issues, though, that's a Hordem that's triple advanced. As expensive as that is, you can no longer Atman it, but luckily we have a Hyperbaric at also 4 strength. So a very efficient rig, as much as this was a lot of installs for NAC. I like what we're looking at here.
Well, the Leech does the same thing as Data Sucker, right? It brings
Exactly.
the strength down.
Entirely the same text.
Yeah, wow.
And Padma allowing you to put extra counters on it as and when you want. Not take them away, sadly, but put them on there.
Oh, that's totally true. Yeah, you're right. That's a cool way to like fix some issues early or later. We're going to see 1 here into the depths, mind you, going to fire twice. We see a Maskarovka, and we have a Waken Plant with 4 charges on it. So we can just send it R&D and C3 if we really want to. A card in the remote server is double advanced, though. I don't know when that happened, but this could be game if some fish has that mythical 5/3 in the remote server. Nothing so far. 15 cards left in R&D. That is something on top of server 1.
Hmm.
Do you think it's a Vlad grid in server 1?
I don't know. It could be. It's like, yeah, because you're trying to think, is the upgrade advanced, which would have to be Vlad grid, or is that an asset? Like, sorry, like which card's the upgrade, right? But if it was an agenda, you would have just scored it out.
Right.
So maybe it has to be.
Huh. That's so weird.
Dirty Laundry. We're shipping it R&D here again. We get that boat counter for Padma. We have a lot of counters on Waken Plant. I think that's what we charged with Padma. And that is a message chest on the outside. So again, legitimately taxing. This thing is 4 strength. So you can use 1 Leech counter to bring it down to 3, and you can admin through it. Or you could just Hyperbaric through it. I feel like that's probably what you want to do. Ice Wall is always the really funny one with admin decks. Whenever they admin your Ice Wall and you just advance it once just to be a bit annoying. But it looks like Leech is going to be necessary for the Ice Wall, which is quite good.
This is amazing. I'm so excited to see like different breaker suites, honestly.
Yeah, admin, you almost see no admin because everyone's playing like, what's it called? Turbine and all that sort of stuff. But like this is genuinely a more difficult breaker suite to play, but a very good one. We're seeing 4 cards here, and there's off the top. Off-world office, Dag sneaking in there to charge, but that's going to be points. Yeah, that's going to be game point. I wonder what's in server 1.
I'd be fascinated to know.
Sorry for making you click so much. That's really funny. Solid rig. Yeah.
Whenever you play a Glacier deck, it's like that, right? It's like, sorry.
I believe that's going to be it for round one. I think that was actually a really exciting round one on all sides. That should be it. So firstly, just a call here. If you're watching table 7, please send in your results to the Google form. But we're going to throw just to a break here real quick on the stream, just to make sure the results are in. Again, a huge shout out to my partner, Maddie, who stepped up to do all the organizational stuff in terms of like the round pairings and all that great stuff behind the scenes. So I'm just going to go over and help her make sure everything's in a good spot. And we'll have round 2 up in just a minute. By the way, I am joined by Asphyxia and Marbles. Thanks so much for joining me. I've had a lot of fun so far. How's your, I guess, morning/evening been?
This is
I'm
amazing.
having-
I love watching Netrunner. So this is just like cool. We get to talk about Netrunner.
Fantastic.
This is a fantastic competition. We're seeing such a lot of variety in the decks.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. Go ahead, sorry.
Even seeing a lot of boat, we're seeing a lot of variety in the way that people are playing boat.
Yes.
And I think that's really exciting.
And again, a huge shout out. We have about 31 players today, and a fair few of these players, I think it's like 7 to 8 players. This is their first time getting into an event for organized play. So thanks so much for taking the time of your day, your afternoon, your evening to come play an event. So I appreciate it. But real quick, we're just going to throw to a break and we'll be back in about, I don't know, I feel like 10 to 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll see y'all in a bit. welcome back. We're just about to start our second round here on our, I think it's the first ever startup GNK we've done on this channel. And let me tell you, I'm having a lot of fun. Hopefully you are too. This is going to be the first of what should be many. And luckily I'm not alone on this adventure. I'm joined by Asphyxia and Marbles. How's it going, both of y'all?
What's up?
Been pretty good.
It's been really fun so far.
It's been really fun so far. So our round one pairings, our round two pairings should just be up right now. In terms of results, they look like this. I don't have too much to say about it, but we're going into round two. Again, we have 31 players there. So one of the players, if you're not familiar, is going to have a bye. They just get basically 2 free wins and they kind of get to do whatever they want for an hour and a bit. But our pairing should be up. We'll be getting into it real soon. Oh, I'm a bit out of breath because I've been running around, but I think the game so far has been really exciting. So embarrassed that there was a really cool Ampere flatline and then I did a judge call, which logged me out and then we missed it. So shout out to that. That's not good. But I'm hopefully we'll see some Ampere on stream again.
See, if we were really on the ball, we would have noticed and taken a screenshot of the windscreen at least. So.
Maybe we'll have a replay again. I recommend people to save their replays after their events because it's always a real nice thing to share, let alone to look at, maybe learn something. Okay. I'm just going to wait for tables to be up. Real quick, Marbles, if you were playing at this event today, what would you play?
I'm a big fan of Essa, so I think I'd bring Essa as my runner deck, and I think Rarity Plus is very strong in the current meta, so I think I'd be looking for a tag NBN deck on my corp side.
Yeah, in fact, R+, we're only seeing 3 of them here. I do think like there's this interesting difference between standard and startup, whether people are respecting the no free lunches. I think you're actually more likely to see the no free lunch respect right now in startup, and I think there's some good reason to do it. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Reality Plus is really well positioned. I think it's only a matter of time before we see one on stream. I don't, Jenny, what have you been enjoying in startup so far? What kind of player are you?
Well, anything that you do a deck dive on, I cannot play. So, Marbles and I have actually been cooking up some Nanook madness. So
super cool.
Having fun with that, and yeah, outside of that, I've just been playing. I mean, we played an EH match recently in startup. So, yeah, just mitosis, NEH, shell games.
I think it's some fun stuff. We haven't seen mitosis today.
That's probably what I would have brought if I came through, signed up.
Cool. I think we're just about to start. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna see if we're on a good spot. Matt, do you want to throw a timer?
Yeah.
All right.
Probably if you just like, you're not gonna tell us what you're gonna play in the tournament that you're running. Or,
excuse me. Yeah, that's a good point. I think I would probably run Criminal. I just been having a lot of fun. I think Zai is a lot of fun.
So fun.
I think I might be brave enough to like try play Matryoshka and hope that I don't get half run comboed. Maybe you play the revolver, but I've been having so much fun with Zaya and just like slamming as much multi-access as you can afford to put in your deck.
Yeah, if you ever see a half run, just throw a gun at it.
Yeah, just throw your gun. It works just as well.
I love revolver so much.
Cool.
I love throwing your gun at your opponent.
Yeah.
It's a winning play. It's such a great card.
The flavor is addictive.
So we have round 2 to start. Marbles, you want to pick maybe a table?
Let's take a look. Table 2. I like the look of table 2. I think it's Encoder versus Not Again.
Let's do it. Yeah, and we're off. This is actually, I think, maybe our only Quetzal Not Again is playing. So you're going to be able to sail through the barriers off the top 2. Whoa, turn 1. That's a finality to get 4 points. That's a nice from Cody there. And this is the Reality Plus that we're talking about. So we're going to see 2 things we have to figure out. Firstly, how do they give tags? I think we have some ideas. Funhouse, Ping, probably still Drago is alive and well in the format. And then how do you punish tags? We have a no free lunch on the other side of the table, but what are we looking for? It's probably Retribution. Is there any other? Are you worried about that end of the line?
I would definitely be worried about the end of the line in this matchup.
I think, yeah. I was, again, finality maybe is not what you expect turn 1. For a second, I forgot that we're not on an Essa deck, but that is going to be a Serevna. This is not, is this lethal? This is lethal. No, botchless means it's not lethal. This is nearly lethal.
Oh my god.
Is there anything in this remote server that could be lethal? Like obviously snare, but like you'd be surprised to see that, I think. It's an amaze. So that's 2 tags. Whatever is in server 2 seems to be an agenda here. So I think the Morrow's headline is the worst case scenario, as much as this is welcome to the tag punishment. But you have 2 clicks to try and win the game here because there's a big chance, yeah, you might just get end of the line, as much as that single no free lunch doesn't seem great against 4 tags on turn 2.
They are moving so fast.
They're moving really quite fast. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I might have face checked into that Tsarevna, and if you did not have that bot just there, it's just
Oh,
that's it. That's a flat line.
Oh, no.
Oh no, so fast and so loose, and I think they almost got there. There's a big chance there's an agenda in HQ, and that might have converted. But Tsarevna, not an ICC all the time, but I think this one is a bit underplayed for how good those subroutines are, and sentries are relatively great in the format as well.
That game took 3 minutes.
I was terrified is right. When the runner rips 4 points on turn 1, you're getting through there, but good game to both players. We're going to
Oh my
see
goodness.
the flip side of this. Damn, that's fast.
I'm wondering with that kind of panic play whether they had seen an end of the line in their finality run and they knew it was coming, and so they were just running everything.
Yeah, that's actually a really big call. That seeing 4 off the top of R&D, you have a big idea what's going to come there. On a maze, what was it? Was it a draw or was it credits? I think it might have been a draw too, so maybe we're a bit deeper as well.
Do you want to explain a maze to people who may not recognize this weird upgrade?
Yeah, this fun one. If you steal an agenda in here, you're going to take 2 tags. And I think this is the only card in the entire format that gives you more than 1 tag. And clearing a lot of tags at once is there's no card in startup that interacts favorably into that, barring like maybe networking if you want to consider that. But yeah, you just got to watch out. If you take a lot of tags suddenly on a run, like ping into a maze into tomorrow's headlines, you're just 4 tags deep and you might not be ready for that. So that'll sneak up on you.
I think it's a good consideration. I hardly ever see it played a maze actually. So
It is super rare.
I was
Yeah.
just like, wow.
It's like as rare as it is like usually the max punish where you run a remote server and be like, I'm okay if it's anything besides an maze. And 1 out of 10 times it is a maze, which is in your benefit. But yeah, it is the rough part. Not again now. We're trading. That's an NEH and we're on 54 cards. So worth keeping in mind, that's 22 to 23 agenda points. So this deck might be a bit less consistent, but ideally with the nearest hub draw, you might be seeing more of your deck on average than most other corporations would. So we'll see what Padma does with that. Double Fermenter turn 1 is quite a good spot. It's worth noting Encoder, a very competitive Netrunner player, even of course in the standard format, and got the buy round 1. So not again has been playing 2 games in a row, and Cody's gonna roll up to this quite fresh.
If you're ready to practice your rap god, because they're going so fast that you're just gonna have to be like
They're playing
speaking over everything
so quickly. That's a Regolith down, Dirty Laundry turn 1, Hedge Fund. Cards are just flying. Like it's hard to play this fast in person. JNet lets you play quicker because you just gotta click. You don't have to move your hands. It's gonna be a really fast game potentially.
This is going to be a game where both sides are going to be extremely rich by the looks of things, with those 2 fermenters on the board and all of the econ that we know NEH can bring out.
Whoa, Beal on the table. That's surprising. I think there's a chance, right? Like if Cody doesn't crack a fermenter here, you're weak for a moment into a tag here, let alone into like a, what's it called? The public trail, right? Like public trail into retribution would kind of be the draw here. Tollbooth going to perfectly take 3 credits away from endurance. Again, that's if able. So if you're on 2, it doesn't actually connect. And there you go. Public trail off the top. Let's sink a ship.
I think that's the first bait we've seen sunk today.
Pretty good.
Wow.
Now you're still going to run into issues.
Your boat. Yeah, just a bunch of guys rock under the boat and just start breaking things, easy.
It's a lot of people with a lot of different baseball bats. Yeah. I think that play was like, you kind of maybe saw it coming. Like Beal on the table is pretty wild. So I do think Not Again just wanted to encourage a run, understanding what's going to happen there. And we had a purge, which actually sets back Cody's economy pretty reasonably. You do have that telework for backup, but you did lose a lot of money, as much as the second telework probably doesn't feel good. If Encoder wants to get a boat down, at least that money's going to matter.
I love how both sides have zero respect for one another after the last game. Just like we're installing a Beal, just turn 1, just like, hey.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you check it. Maybe you do. Yeah. I'm okay either ways, but we're gonna see if we're gonna be able to deal with this single ice now. Not Against money hasn't kind of sprung up. I do think you're still going to see hedge funds in these decks, but largely Nearth Hub, barring that Regolith we saw, almost all their economy is going to come from either Planogram, hedge fund, but more likely all the assets on the table. So if you can keep the assets down in Nearth Hub, you're going to keep their entire game plan down. So Coder is going to value getting the economy. Gaslight?
Gaslight.
What are you looking for here?
Wow.
Trail doesn't work.
That's got to be end of the lane.
Just show it.
Just have another.
Just for hedge fund. Okay, that'll do.
Wow.
Such a versatile card.
Yeah, it's a very, very powerful card.
Would you consider that deck thinning?
Yeah. I think unfortunately Not Again might have installed before mandatory draw. I think that happens a lot with Gaslight because you add a card to hand and you think your draw happens. It's fine. You're going to draw that card anyways, as much as the information gained is a bit different, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal here. 5 empty. It looks like 4 were pushing for remote server. And again, Encoder at some point felt confident about having an endurance, but it looks like we're going to slip slightly backwards here. So actually a double ice remote server might be pretty reasonable. And that's just a Maryland ticking away in the remote.
I'm wondering if they have fast advanced tools in here because we've seen like gaslights and things.
Yeah, I think there's a chance.
But the tag packet.
I was going to say, I think like shipment from Sansan is probably like the fast advanced piece you're expecting more often than not.
You said shipment from Sansan.
Oh, sorry, Sansan City Grid. Excuse me. Yeah.
I do that. I do that all the time. Don't worry about it.
For those who don't know, in Startup, that is an older card that does something similar, sort of. Propeller coming down. We're dealing with just barriers, let alone Buzzsaw gets that cheap code gates. It's going to be a massive amount of money for that toll booth, but let's see if we just send it into server 1. This is really risky too, because if the Into the Depths doesn't connect, you don't get any value here. So I don't think you're expecting an end to run sentry, but you're going to end with a tag here with the ping, and it is a funhouse. You're going to end with 2 tags if you really want to get through here. And I feel like with the Into the Depths, you kind of are encouraged to. As much as with 4 cards in hand, maybe you can float a single tag. Maybe you get shipment from Vladisibirsk.
This is wild.
We're firing all.
I mean, yeah, at this point, what, like 1 tag is just as many as 2 tags, right? Well, maybe not for shipment from Vladisibirsk, but it's like
it's close, yeah.
Just go all in.
Off for love.
Pays off.
Yeah, we're seeing 2 NBN matches where it's just smashing his remote server, tags coming in sooner than you want. And there is a Vladisibirsk, 4 advancements on a card. Orbital Superiority. That was 1 card from Flatline.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this deals damage if they are tagged, which they were. It rarely fires. The meat damage rarely fires off this, I would say.
I never played this card. Most people don't play this card, but it is actually quite a strong punishment, especially with Psychographics or shipment from Vladisibirsk. And I don't know if Cody was respecting that, but luckily on 4 cards, you'll get through. Now 17 credits down to 13 after clearing 2 tags, but we have a remote server here that is relatively taxing, as Funhouse is quite annoying as much as you're going to get through that ping barrier for free.
I had a feeling it would be ping on the remote.
Yeah, it almost always is. It's a really good thing for the early game, and Propeller is going to run out of juice. Actually, no, it's not, right? Because it doesn't need power counters. Wait, why does a power counter off the Propeller?
Strength.
It's because ping's 1 strength.
Right, excuse me. Yes, very good. Earthrise is down.
There's probably a K2 CP. That's the one.
I think so.
That's
yeah. Yeah, I wonder if there's like a pawn shop here and maybe you're getting rid of the Propeller, but I think Propeller is like just on its own probably reasonable enough. Maybe you charge it once in a while, or maybe you have an endurance so you don't need to rely on it. But the remote server now is pretty relevant, as much as the card that was in there hasn't moved since last turn. So we got that card draw in server 7. We have server 4, a 3rd ice. And I feel like as much as we had, like say on turn 1 or turn 2, it was Public Trail into Retribution. And on a deck that's, 54 cards. Maybe you feel bad as the runner when they just kind of have it on turn 1. But there's a chance that like the deck size inconsistency is something that Encoder is going to keep in mind and maybe take a bit more risky plays based on hoping that they just don't have it. Endurance is down. Dirty Laundry. We're going to try and get 1 run a turn usually with Endurance because the counters are quite valuable. Let's see what the HQ ice is. With 1 click left too, the ping's not going to be too bad, but this is the 2nd time we've seen Anvil in like NBN matchups. Is this thing like the secret Endurance tech that nobody's playing?
It can
I think
be
people
very
want it
strong
to be.
Very strong versus Endurance.
They just trashed whatever was in server 5. We'll never find out. It was basically just a free card draw. But you get an access here. A lot of cards in hand. No filtering so far. Actually, 1 Spin Doctor, excuse me. And 3 agendas out. So maybe not too likely. And we're through. Seeing a 2nd Anvil. Mind you, they can trash themselves, but not themselves. They can trash each other. You can't trash yourself.
It creates another threat from the classic NEH board state of 15 servers that you've not managed to keep down, because now you can trash any of those cards to trash one of the runner's cards, admittedly with them choosing.
Oh, excuse me, I have a judge call real quick. I just got to pop into that, so I'm gonna leave y'all two here.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Don't worry. If the stream falls over, we'll DM. Seems like it's
Yeah,
oh. Yeah, it's
it,
updating. It's updating. We're good.
cool. So yeah,
Okay,
this is a
no free
Votax.
lunch. That'll help. Sorry, I cut you off.
I think if I'm Padma, I'm running R&D as much as possible. Possibly, yeah, just running R&D, spending boat counters, seeing what's on the top, because you can do it for 3 credits every time, right? You can charge boat with Padma's ability, and then get another counter when you get the successful run. I think on
Yeah,
this
I'm
board
not
state, I'm
sure.
doing it every
The
time.
econ's kind of not super strong right now, so maybe that 3 credits is a bit much. But it's
They've got that
yeah,
fermenter. When they crack that
they
fermenter,
do.
they
They
can have another
do.
12.
I just like having it be consistent is the tricky part, especially with R&D runs. Tollbooth is just such a strong card. A hush again would probably shut down the tool booth a little bit. Take the fangs off. Still a 5 strength.
Booth is one of those cards which is both very strong and everyone agrees is kind of fair. Like, because it costs 8 credits to res, it should hurt.
That's true. Definitely. Okay. Good shape of stuff.
An info bounty, one of my favorite cards. I'm
Oh
not...
yeah, I love the art actually. I wish we could highlight it, but yeah. Okay, the stream has died again. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I will DM.
Wait, what happened?
The stream is not updating, I think.
For real? Okay, hold
no,
on.
there it is.
Are we
There it
back? I
is.
think we're back.
I think we're back. It was only for a moment if it was.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately, when I do judge call stuff, I'm not moving the mouse around. So like, I think that actually the game, the players were just thinking, maybe. I think that's my hope.
Hopefully.
Okay, so sorry. Can you catch me up real quick on what happened?
Sure. They ran R&D. Could have told you. Just good shape of stuff, clicking for credits, you know.
Nice. So yeah,
At like breakneck speed.
very good. Info bounty is on the table as you called out. Yeah, that is a really exciting one for 2 influence. If you want to run anywhere once a turn with endurance, like that's a good way to get value from it. And server 4, that's the card that hasn't moved in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe a Sansan. I think that's cool. But double advanced server 9, checklist or just an agenda on the table?
I'm trying to think what would be the least respectful option.
Just Urtica, right? Just jam Urtica.
No. It's definitely just an agenda.
It would
Make it
be
look
very
like a
fun
pack.
if it was send a message.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Scored naked.
Full breaker suite again. We're at power endurance with 6 counters on it. That anvil on like HQ anvil is just good enough, which is wild. It's like you can break this for literally free, but it's not happening. Turbine coming in too. So we have a huge echelon. I don't think you see that many sentries, let alone high strength sentries in NBN decks. Generally in startup, there's not that many. I don't think there's any, in fact. But we're going to be breaking just about every ice for its on encounter more than its actual strength and subroutines. Last click running R&D here. There's a risk here. If this is a ping, albeit you do have that pocket, no free lunch to clear the tags. And the second anvil.
Oof.
There's no way you trash server 9 with this, right?
Maybe 7-4. I mean, unless it is a Sansan, but you kind of need a Sansan, but.
So like, this is the beauty of why Anvil can solve so many. Oh my, it is server 4. That's so wild. But it's like Anvil, it's hard for endurance to deal with. And if you have endurance and K2P turbine, like how good is the ping anyways, right? Like you just get rid of the ping, you know, if all your ice doesn't work,
definitely.
This is the good ice now. So I think that's really, really quite fun.
That's a good evolution link because when ping kind of turns off once it's been rezzed, so why not trash it into the anvils?
All right, info bandit we gained 2 off the top. Nothing there.
Oh my god.
That's a really gutsy play.
I was just an off-rolled on the table. Excuse me. Wow. 1 click left there. We're both on 4 points. I don't know if we're going to see big 5-3s, but there's definitely going to be a bit of a game ahead of us.
I'm in love with this.
This is really cool.
Yeah, the bluff Netrunner is my favorite kind of Netrunner.
And maybe you can expect it, like, not again, just put a Beal on the table on like turn 2. I think they had good reason to do that with like the public trail interaction, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's going to change how Cody plays, and maybe that not again's going to use that to their advantage. In fact, it looks like there was a snare in server 4 that got trashed with the anvil, so there is definitely traps abound.
And if you start training the runner, hey, I put stuff out on the table, it's agendas. You should come and have a look.
Exactly.
Then you can start. Well,
what?
No way.
Okay. Respect.
Wow.
Yeah. Mad respect. That's another way to play around endurance. Just put all your agendas on the table. And, you know, a lot of players might not see that coming. Maybe you do it once, but is there 2 agendas on the table on like turn 7? I don't know. This is turn 17, mind you. But that conduit's going to come down to try and close the game off. But the unfortunate matter is, we'll see how much damage Anvil can do to either players. But this becomes unsustainable at some point where eventually you just don't have cards left. We'll see if like we sink the info bounty, we sink the no free lunch. What do y'all guess is the first thing that Cody's going to destroy from their own board?
Definitely the new free lunch fast.
That has to go first, right?
I think after that, there's down the info bounty. I don't know why. I'm never attached to my econ.
19 credits. You can afford to lose it, right?
Hold on one second. I just want to check with the stream. I think the audio is getting a bit garbled. Can we? Can I get a confirmation chat? I might have to just pop out and pop back in. I don't know if it's my headphones or I don't know if it's the stream itself. We'll find out in a second. Sorry. It is. Okay. Y'all, I'm just going to hop out of stream comms and come back in. Give me 1 second.
Any goblins. So it must be a stream.
Okay, yeah, audio's crunchy. Actually, Marbles and Jenny, can you pop out and maybe come back in? If you can just like really quickly on Discord, you can test your own audio because I don't know if it's the connection. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's a hardware thing.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll see if we can fix that real quick. Never heard that before. Is my audio okay or is all audio bad? Spin Doctor, mind you. To draw 2. That's just cracked immediately. Install draw, regolith, and snare going back. Love to see the snare because actually encoder's running out of cards here. There's only 8 cards left. That's basically 2.5 snares left. So if we can just hit it. Mine is okay. Okay, hey, y'all, you back? Is the sound okay?
Yeah, I have a feeling it might be the push-to-talkie that I'm using. I might be I might be half pressing it.
Still sounds strange. I don't know what it is. It's like a robotic kind of thing. It feels like a network thing. I was getting a few hiccups from the stream. Okay, so we might restart the stream in a moment. Marbles, is it any better on your side?
Everything sounds absolutely fine to me. I'm listening through Discord, so I can switch over and see what the stream sounds like.
Okay.
No, it sounds terrible. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it sounds strange. I think it's my fault. Like, I think it's a networking thing. So I'm going to look at that in just 1 second. I think I can restart my audio setup. Yeah, I think it's what's coming in from Discord. Kalana, yeah, you're right, is getting garbled up a bit. So sorry for this, y'all. Give me 1 second. We'll see what we can do about it. We can access here on HQ. This could be it. Anvil there. Yeah, I think it maybe is a Discord server. I'm just going to like get rid of Discord. I'm going to restart Discord. I'll be back in 1 second, y'all. If you just want to chill in the stream comms, I'll be back here in a moment. Be right back.
Seems like.
All right, give me 1 second. We're going to try and reset Discord real quick. Otherwise, we're jamming the remote server. Sorry, it's hard to do all this at once. Card in server 4. Again, we know that there's snares on the table. Not again has been just bluffing it. That's a ping. Both of those are gone. The copies of the tag reduction for the no free lunch, and it's a regolith. Cody has a lot of money. Not again, not so much. So we're definitely going to trash that for 3. Let me see if we rebooted Discord. I think we did. Okay, let's see if this works. Hi.
It's amazing so much.
Oh, it's still messed up. Okay. Marbles, also, can I hear you for real quick?
You can certainly hear me.
Okay.
I don't know if I sound good.
Yeah, still wrong. Don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to do some research between rounds, unfortunately, because I don't think it's something I can fix right now. Yeah, shit. Is it all right if I throw y'all on mute just for a bit? I think the audio is like really difficult to understand on the stream. I appreciate y'all taking the time to do this, and I'm definitely gonna fix it between rounds. Sorry about that. Thank you. I've never run into that before. All right, so sorry for that. We're going to look into that between rounds. We'll just get to the end of this game, and then we'll be able to address that, and we'll throw to a break. All right. Text only. What's up, chat? Yay, in chat. Let's go. We're hitting the anvil there. We have 14 counters on endurance, but Anvil doesn't care as much as the board state on the corpse side is shrinking. Eventually they'll catch up. There's only 4 more cards in hand. Let's go hit some snares. Yeah, Raketha, I went for the Discord restart and it didn't do it, so I'm not exactly sure. That's a Scion? Conduit, mind you, now at 2 counter. Scion does nothing from central servers. We're running HQ here. This is probably a deep dive. And we're not going to get extra clicks to close the game out. The Funhouse now makes a deep dive a bit more interesting, because if you want to float a tag, that's the last endurance, I think, at this point. No, actually, it looks like there's another one in hand. So even if you sink this, you're going to have some issues. I think you want to retribute the Conduit, if anything. And we're pulling down more ice here. The pop-up window gets anviled. The anvil is going to pull down a bit more. That's a Crypto Crash from HQ. We're on 6 points. Game point on both sides. There are real 2-1s here, but it looks like it's going to be a deep dive to close the game out. No agendas? No agendas on the deep dive. Encoder pushing it all there on that single deep dive. Definitely looking for the last points. Again, there are 2-1s that you can play, but a Spin Doctor's going to get trashed. That's the last piece of recursion there. Floating a single tag. If not, again, has a retribution. There's so many options of what you can trash. The endurance, there's probably another in hand, but pulling down the conduit's probably good enough. Server 10 drawing a card. Install, advance, leaving it on the table. This could be Scion. This could be Urtica. This could just be the winning agenda. We're checking it. It's a Scion. That's 2 more tags. Cody, 3 tags in. And a single tag might just not be enough. Again, now shipment from Vladisibirsk requires 2 tags. That's the big threshold here. So Cody could just clear 2 tags and sit tight. Info bounty though on archives, getting an endurance charge, but here you might want to clear 2 tags or just try and win off of R&D. And it looks like we're going to go for the R&D line. Again, 2 tags at the huge threshold here. You have to trash your own cards. Anvil for an anvil. Gonna have to trash something. We lost the info bounty there, the toll booth. Next, that's 3 credits, and you're gonna get through that for the endurance. You don't have to pay 1 if you want. We're gonna see 3 cards here. This easily could be at the last tomorrow's headline. Good game again. With only 3 cards left. Yeah, there were so many ways that tag punishment could have connected. What a game to both players. That was really tight. And Coder taking both of those on that round. Retribution on top of the deck. Both very wild games. Glad we could get that on camera, but well played to both players. A lot of tag punishment early. You saw the power of the anvil to deal with the endurance is definitely wild. Sad day. I think that's a pretty exciting game, and I respect not against playstyle. That's pretty wild with things on the table. Anvil is mean is correct. 2 influence. Maybe NEH gets more card draw. Maybe that's why you play 54 just to fuel the forge, but that's going to get it there. All right, we're going to address our audio issues. There are still a whole bunch of games going on, so we should be back relatively soon. We're just going to, again, address the audio, make sure that's running pretty well. If you're just tuning in, by the way, welcome. This is our startup GNK, April 2023. Hopefully the first of many. And we have 31 players playing today, which is absolutely fantastic for those coming out. Again, if you want to follow along on the tournament, the Cobra AI link should be shared in chat at some point. That's probably on me, but shout out to all. We'll be back in just a minute. We're going to put some audio on, some music on, and we're going to try and address the audio issues. We'll be back in just a bit. See you in a second.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's
16. Good. Sounds good.
Hey, I'm back. We're gonna actually restart the stream. It looks like the audio issues are a bit larger than I think they are. So we're gonna shut the stream down. Again, we'll be back up in about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be well in to probably see more of round 2. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. See you in a bit.